Hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I am always Tekking101 here to talk about. Okay, ow, that was funny for maybe about the first 3 takes, and after that, my eyes started to actually strain quite considerably. Okay, so if you weren't aware of the awesome YouTuber I was parodying just now, is Jim's Nerd Nation. Go check out his link below. And the neat thing about Jim, and what we're going to be doing here today, is that he started something that I've never think has been done on YouTube before in terms of mainstream manga reviewing, and that is when he does manga reviews, it's not the same thing as I do with Bleach or whatever the reviewer said. He does manga reviews in a complete format, meaning that he goes back to chapter 1 of a series and he starts reviewing the entire series from then. He's not caught up with like the main series, what he's talking about. He's just discovering it as he's going along, and he's making a video for every single chapter. And the series that he's doing that for, he started with One Piece, which One Piece right away, the longest running manga that's still in Shonen Jump, you know, that right away, that's like a multi-year project he has working on with a 700 chapter series. But not only that, he's also working on Toriko, which is 200 plus chapters, and Naruto he just started, which is again 600 plus. It's a big ringer. It's going to take him a while. So kudos for Jim for doing that. But also what he did is he kind of inspired other manga reviewers on YouTube, like Nostradamus, to start doing their own like manga reviewer complete series, like starting from chapter 1 and just making a video for each and every chapter, just talking about it, you know, just really quick, and then just making maybe like a less than 10-minute video. Something that I'm going to have quite difficulty of doing because I usually make longer videos. But, you know, because of this, some people have been asking me, I've been getting messages on live stream like, whoa, Tekking, you should do this with Bleach because it would be great, right? Because I can't, my camera's like mirrored. Okay, you should do this with Bleach, man. That'd be so awesome because you're the Bleach guy. Like, okay, listen, I've thought about it. I really have, because this seems like something like an interesting little project I can work on. The thing is with Bleach, though, is that I know the whole series. Now, I haven't, you know, read the older chapters in a long time, but even if there's something new thrown in there, it's not going to be something massively different. You know, I've seen the anime, you know, I've watched the first, you know, the Substitute arc a bunch of times. Thing is, I'm not going to be surprised by it. And the thing is why I think Jim's videos are so good is because he's discovering One Piece, he's discovering Toriko, as they're just, you know, coming into fruition for him. You know, he doesn't know what's going to happen like 100 chapters from now. He doesn't have the knowledge that other people do that are caught up to the series, so it's interesting for him to try to figure this stuff out and come up with his own ideas and foreshadowing for what's going to happen later in the series. It's a new experience to him. And I was thinking to myself, like, okay, what is a manga series that I could talk about that isn't really that long, because I don't have the time, you know, he does for these videos. He basically just does the complete reviewing series. I have other stuff I do, so I couldn't do like a huge like 500, 600 chapter, you know, project. That's just way beyond my control. But what's a short, relatively short manga series that I could talk about in like chapter by chapter format from the very beginning that I have not seen before? And there was only one answer that popped into my head, and it's a series that I've been wanting to talk about on YouTube for years because it really relates to my Bleach subject matter. What I talk about, it relates to Bleach, but I never really had a time to bring it up, and every time I thought about making a video about it, I'm like, how do I make a video? Where do I start with this? And that is Tite Kubo Sensei's first ever serialized manga in Weekly Shonen Jump magazine, Zombie Powder. Oh yes, Zombie Powder. Now, anybody that's a die-hard fan of Bleach is probably aware of Zombie Powder. Zombie Powder ran from 1999 to 2000 before it was discontinued in Weekly Shonen Jump magazine. And it had 4 volumes, and it actually spanned to an English release, like I think in 2007, 2008, like 7 or 8 years after it was discontinued. The English, I guess Viz finally licensed it and finally released it in Tanaboken format. I think because Bleach was becoming insanely popular here in the States, and they thought, well, it's only a 27 chapter series, but let's, you know, let's translate it anyway and sell it in stores, because it'll probably, you know, people are going crazy for this Bleach shit, so maybe, you know, people will love Zombie Powder too. And it's actually a good thing Viz did that, because Zombie Powder had a huge cult following here after that. Like maybe not huge, like massive, like on the level of Bleach, but the interest in it certainly was piqued, and a lot more people probably would not have read this series had it not been for Viz's translation into America, because not a lot of people would have even known about it since then. Like because there's other like Oda, the mangaka of One Piece. He did a one-shot before One Piece entitled Monster. I have read it, but not a lot of people are aware of it. So go check out Monster, by the way, kick-ass one-shot. Kubo also did a one-shot too before Zombie Powder, but it was like it was 98, but it was just a one-shot. This is his first serialized manga. The guy was only 23 when this was, no, he was 22 in 99. Yeah, he was 22 when this was released. So I just want you to keep that in mind, that all these drawings and everything, or how old he was when he was drawing this, because it's very, very interesting the talent he had at that young of an age. All right, so you know, I'm just going to dive right into it. This is chapter 1 of Zombie Powder. I'm going to give a quick, as an assumption as I can. It's a 55-page long chapter, so this one's probably going to be, this first episode's probably going to be longer than the other ones. But after this, the second chapter is like about 30, and then after that, it starts evening out to, like, you know, the normal like 18, 20-page chapters that we're used to in WSJ's, you know, weekly releases. So let's get right into it. The first chapter is entitled The Young Boy in the Black Right Arm, and I do not have the actual volume with me. I'm going to purchase it in the next couple days so I can just, you know, follow along right here, but until then I have it pulled up on my computer, so we're all good. Alright, so the chapter starts off with a kind of a one-shot pan over of just kind of like what this world is like, just kind of a quick, just like dive quickly into this world, what's it like, and what's the main plot of the series. When we get a perfect assumption of this, you know, what is this zombie powder? It's the title of the series. What is it exactly? Well, it states that it's this medicine that once it comes together, it will be able to basically give immortality to the living, and it will be able to revive the dead. So right away, this is what the zombie powder is. Okay, makes sense. And I'm guessing this dust substance that we're seeing on the first page is supposed to be the zombie powder. It takes the form of like a skull, and it's like eyes are glowing. So I'm like, okay, pretty cool. That's, you know, one little text box, you know, text box. It's all you need just to explain what this is. You know, and so it also goes on to the next little bubble that just says, people have been searching for this for years, and they continue to search for it today. And we get this awesome backdrop of, we have like Western-type characters using guns, and like gunslingers, you know, like Billy the Kid, you know, whipping out, you know, like they're like the 36 revolvers, like boom, you take them down, you know. And this is because this series is a Western series. Now, anybody that has read Bleach, you know that's probably like a huge stark contrast to what Bleach is like. Alright, because Bleach is, if anything, it takes hints from like feudalist Japan, if nothing else. But here we have a series that's a Western, basically set in America in the 1800s. So very interesting thing right there. Alright, so then we get the cover page, and the cover page features our main characters that I'm sure we'll get to know of sooner or later. Although since this series was discontinued, it doesn't really have a definite end, so I don't really know. Maybe some of these characters we won't get to know. But you know, so on the right side we get a young boy, you know, black hair, and then in the foreground we get probably the main character, I would assume. I have seen fan art of this guy, so I probably would say he's the main character, who's like having his arm outstretched with like just a bunch of gun barrels. Like there's a freaking mini gun barrel right there that he's just gonna, like, he's holding up his hand, just like, talk to the hand, bitch. And he has like a metal thing coming down his face, so he looks pretty cool. He kind of looks like a cross between Ichigo and Grimchow, if you're gonna take anything. Now, of course, I'm going to be comparing this to Bleach a lot, but that's not because I know nothing about, like, oh, the only manga I read is Bleach, therefore I'm going to compare this to Bleach. No, I'm going to be comparing this to Bleach to give you all the stuff that Kubo laid in groundwork in Zombie Powder that I think he wanted to carry over to Bleach. Because a lot of mangakas will do this. Look at Rave Master and Fairy Tail, or look at D. Grayman and, no, was it, not D. Grayman, it was the series that preceded Soul Eater. There was a series that he did before Soul Eater that the mangaka incorporated into the series. Same thing here, you know, mangakas that have series discontinued or end prematurely, and they want to start another series, they'll incorporate stuff from the older one in there that they enjoy, just because they always thought that was a good idea, and they didn't want to get rid of them. They didn't want to just discard it so quickly. Alright, so then after him we have a black man in the background, kind of looks like Afro Samurai, so I hope he shows up soon. And then we get a London banker looking guy in a hat with glasses on. Oh wait, hold on, I forgot to do this joke. I said London bankers, I have to do this, hold on. Snap. Hoovians, pat yourself on the back for that one if you got that. Then we get a chick with a camera, and then we get some Basby Mohawk-looking badass punk dude, and then we get, I don't even know what the hell that is supposed to be in the left-hand corner there. It looks like, I don't know, it looks like some guy, he looks like he has like a red cross on him, so maybe like some medic ability, I don't know, he's like wearing a long cloak. He doesn't really look human, and he has like I don't know, a dingus or something coming out of him. I don't know if that's a leg. I'm not sure what that is. And in the very, very bottom left-hand corner, we get like just one. I don't even know if it's a guy or a girl. It's just somebody wearing a suit with like a weird coif haircut that's just staring off into the distance. So no idea who that guy is. All right, so then we get the title, which Track.1, which Kubo, of course, likes to name his chapter titles after music tracks, or like on tracks on a CD. This continues to Bleach to this day. But I'm wondering if this series is going to have, like for example, this first chapter is called The Young Boy in the Black Right Arm. If it's going to be like The Young Boy in the Black Right Arm 2, 3, 4, I don't know. We'll find out. I'm a little giddy here because I'm excited. All right, so chapter starts off with a young man. I think he was the boy from the chapter, but he has a hat on. He's a beanie cap on now from the chapter title. But he's a young man, and he is in this kind of like seedy bar, maybe hideout looking place. And there's these bunch of like tough guy gangsters around him, and they're just kind of giving him his payment for something. Apparently he would be he's committing like some crimes, or he's like a runner for this sort of organization here. And the guy is just like, he's giving the guy his money. His name's Elwood, and the guy in question is like, oh, okay, well, here's your money for this job. You did pretty good. I bet your sister would be happy to hear about these talents that you have. And the young man is just like, Elwood, he's just like, yeah, actually, can you not tell her about that, please? And the crime boss dude is just like, don't worry about it. I won't tell her about anything. So we're just a quick introduction to this young man here. He's apparently working for some kind of criminal organization. I don't know if it's like against his will. The guy's like, I bet your sister. So I'm like, right away I'm getting like vibes like, oh, this guy is one of like maybe his sister has like medical issues or something, and he's just kind of working for this organization behind her back to pay for the bills or something. Because a lot of other stories start off like this. Like, he's obviously not enthralled here because he's like sweating and he's like looking off into the distance like he is kind of ashamed to be here and working for these people. But so the very next page, though, we get introduced to the city that we're in, and then we have a bus arriving, and this guy with the long, lush, flowing hair steps out with this awesome, like, I don't know if it's like a duffel bag or something he's carrying, but the thing looks freaking demonic. It has like a skull, and it's like closed by like teeth or fangs, and the thing just looks like if I saw somebody like holding this on a bus, I would be like sitting there like afraid that it's gonna be a bomb or something, because anybody that gets onto a bus with like a skull-shaped anything, you're probably going to be leery of. So the guy steps out, and he's dressed very flashy, and even the people around him, like all the Westerners, like they're looking at him just like, oh my god, this guy looks so flamboyant. He's wearing the flashy silver coat, and he has like the crazy, like the long, lush anime mane going there, and he's carrying this demonic, like satanic duffel bag, and he has this awesome like cow skull or like demon skull belt buckle on him. And I'm assuming whatever he's wearing else is all leather. And not to mention he has like this metal plate thing attached to his arm. So everyone's looking at this guy. Like, obviously this guy is not commonplace. Like, the way this guy dresses is not commonplace. So they're just looking at him. And it's funny here because the guy looks and I guess he's trying to be cool. Like, he steps out like, oh yeah, I'm the main character. I'm freaking badass. And the guy, he pulls like a Vash like immediately. Like from Vash the Stampede from Trigun. Where in like the first time Vash is introduced, that's also a Western setting. And, he pulls out a gun and he aims at a bunch of guys, and the gun is like all big and oriental, and you think he's gonna like shoot them all dead in like a couple shots. He clicks it and no bullets, and he's just like, oh my god, no bullets. This guy right here, he's looking around like he's all badass, and all of a sudden he notices that his long flowing cape got caught on the bus, and now the bus is leaving, and he's like running in a comedic fashion. He's like, oh god, no, please stop the bus. And everyone's just looking at him like, okay, this guy's just fucking weird. So the next scene we get, the man is now in his diner. He's in a diner, he's just eating, and the bar keeps he's serving to him, and he's just asking him some questions, because obviously this guy, I mean anybody that's ever seen any Western movie, like, if anybody like this like walked into the bar, stepped through the sliding doors, just be like, oh yeah, what's going on in here, I'm pretty sure everybody would be like, just take a look at what seamless breathed in the door, like like this guy would probably stand out quite immediately. Anyway, so the barkeep's taking interest in him, and the barkeep's just like, okay, so you traveling jeweler or something? Because apparently the man asked him, I'd like to find a ring, and the barkeep's just like, okay, you traveling jeweler? Like, why do you need a ring? And the man is just, no, you don't understand. I'm not looking for like a normal kind of ring. Like, I'm not trying to like sell like jewelry here, like a necklace or anything. What I'm looking for are rings of the dead. And he says this so confidently and so nonchalant. But as soon as he says this, like, every single guy in the entire bar just, like, I would imagine, like, you could hear a pin drop in this freaking place. Like, as soon as he says rings of the dead, like a scene in a movie where it's just like you hear, what the fuck did he just say? So everyone starts getting up, and the barkeep even steps back, and the barkeep's just like, whoa, what are you doing? If you're mentioning rings of the dead out like this, like out of nowhere, then that must mean you must have one. And since you must have one, that also means that you're looking for the zombie powder. And apparently the zombie powder has some connection to these rings. And apparently the barkeep is like, when you assemble all 12 of these rings of the dead, the zombie powder becomes available, or like the 12 rings create the zombie powder in some way. It's kind of vague, doesn't really say exactly how the zombie powder comes into existence, but it's probably just like, I would imagine it's kind of like not really a fairy tale, just kind of like urban legend at this point, where it's like, nobody's ever done this before, but the legend says if you get all 12 rings together, you get this powder that apparently can revive the dead and make you immortal. So even though, since it hasn't been proven yet, you know, people are still going to be looking for them, trying to figure out what they are, just to see what they see if it's true, because why not, right? If it hasn't been disproven, then it's worth a shot. So, you know, a guy's like, okay, then you're a powder hunter, right? And the guy, the long flowing main guy, is just like, oh no, yeah, I'm a powder hunter, that's fine, that's cool, that's correct. And barkeep is just like, well, you know, you mentioned that in a bar which is filled with a bunch, like, now that you mention that, everybody in this fucking place is going to try to kill you. You do know that, right? So sure enough, everybody, like all the black suits, start getting up behind him. They start reaching in their pockets, ready to pull out their derringers or their revolvers, ready to just shoot this guy in the back of the head for, you know, whatever. So, you know, sure enough, that happens. But right before anything can happen, right before these guys can take their shots or whatever, all of a sudden, Elwood, the young man from before, just shows up and just boom! Just decks the guy right across the freaking bar, and just like over the counter, and he falls on the other side. Everyone's looking at him like, oh my god! And you know, that's the last thing you expect, because this guy, he looks a lot like me. Like, I'm not afraid to admit that. This guy is like probably my height. You know, like he's like a scrawny little string bean. He doesn't have much upper body strength, and he's like the last person in this entire bar of all the big tough guys with, you know, the guns and everything. This guy just comes up and just decks him right into the freaking counter. That's hilarious. So, you know, he decks him, and then he just immediately scurries away, and, you know, so the silver hair guy gets back up, and he's just like, who the hell was that? And he doesn't seem really fazed by it, although he has like a fork stuck in his head, so that was pretty funny. And the barkeep's just like, yeah, that was one of the members of King Cuero's gang, or King Cuero, I can't really pronounce his name that well. King Cuero, that sounds kind of Mexican, Texan, whatever. I'll just say King Cuero's gang, you know, and he probably took your wallet, by the way. So the guy looks in his jacket, and he's like, oh shit, he did take my wallet. So he goes outside, and the young man is looking through, Elwood is looking through this guy's wallet, and he finds out that it's like a note in it that just says, you know, like booby trapped, or, you know, just joking, booby prize. So apparently, this guy's been fooled. He's been kind of like double conned, you know, at the same time. Like, he tries to steal his wallet, he's been like kind of counter screwed there, because apparently this guy with the hair had like a fake wallet he had. So he shows up from behind him and scares the living shit out of him. He's like, I think this is the wallet you wanted there, bud. So, of course, Elwood, after noticing, like, he's pretty much in shit here, because this guy has got, like, a whole, like, 2 feet on him, aside from the fact that he does not look like a guy you want to screw with, and, you know, you just basically pickpocketed him and decked him in the freaking jaw. So, you know, Elwood's afraid, like, oh my god, please don't take me to the police, please don't, I can't let my sister find out about this, can't find out about anything. And, you know, he's actually pretty understandable. He's just like, well, you know, it's cool, it's just, you have to pay me back, of course, you know, for a lot of that trouble you gave me just now, because you interrupted my meal. I'm pretty hungry, so what do you say? You can either, you know, you can either have some prison food tonight, or you can treat me to a meal. So Elwood's just like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll feed you, whatever. So they walk off, and they go to another location, and meanwhile, there's a guy in an alley with a crazy, weird, like, one single strand, you know, hair, like a mohawk thing going on, I don't know, whatever. But he's obviously a thug of some nature, and he looks over, and he notices that he recognizes the guy with the long hair walking with Elwood. So I would assume that, you know, this guy is a member of King Cuero's gang, and of course, as we probably already established, you know, Elwood is not really a guy that wants to be there. I would assume he's just kind of like forced to be there for reasons that are beyond his control. So of course, you know, this guy might be trying to like, oh, okay, this guy's like following him around. King Cuero is probably just like, you know, like, follow Elwood around, make sure he doesn't try to like hamstring us or go behind our back or anything. Then Elwood and the stranger arrive at his home. We get to meet his sister, who looks pretty much exactly like him, just a little bit more leaner and with a different hairstyle. Kubo's drawing style is very like square angles, very sharp and defined. Which, you know, considering the fact that he was 23 when he drew this, you know, 23 years old. You know, it just no, not 23. He'd be 22. Yeah, no, he was born in 77. So yeah, 22 when he probably drew this. I mean, his art style has certainly evolved a little bit since then. But overall, I can definitely tell that this was Kubo drawing this. Just the way the characters are drawn and portrayed in the shadowing and everything going on, especially with the black hair. He has a thing for girls with black hair. I don't know. So anyway, you know, they get home, and of course he just plays off like, yeah, this guy with me, he's just a friend. He's in town. You know, would you mind, you know, feeding him? And the guy finally introduces himself. He says, I am Gamma, Akutabe Gamma. Nice to meet you, Elwood. So his name's Gamma. That's a pretty awesome, badass name right there, I have to say. I mean, I don't know why. It's a pretty cool. It's Latin. It's neat. Akutabe. I'm not really sure what that means. Aku. I think Aka means... Aka means red, but I'm not sure what Aku means. I'm trying to learn Japanese right now, so let's just ignore that. So they eat their meal, and afterwards, Elwood and Gamma are outside, and they're just kind of chit-chatting. He's like thanking him for the meal. He's like, oh man, your sister was a great cook. That was pretty damn good. He's bringing this up, and then all of a sudden we cut back to King Cuero's hideout, or the place I guess Elwood was at the beginning of the chapter, and the guy that was spying on Elwood, tells him that this guy Akutabe Gamma was walking with him, and it turns out that he's wanted. Like he tears up like a wanted poster, and we see Gamma's face in it. It's like, okay, so this guy is clearly wanted. And I guess King Cuero thinks that Elwood was trying to get the money for himself, like trying to take this guy in by himself without telling King Cuero first. So obviously he's a little mad about this, and obviously, they're rightfully pissed off by this, and they're going to do something here. So they're going to go off and do something, and then we cut back to Elwood and Gamma, and Elwood is kind of telling Gamma the story of how they got involved, or how he got involved with this gang. And apparently what happened was they tried to open a shop, I guess him and his sister, a while ago, and I guess King Cuero's game showed up, and they pretty much just, wrecked the shop, or they ruined it for them, and they did whatever they could to put them out of business. So apparently the shop was out of business in 2 weeks, and they had no money to support themselves. So I guess the only way that Elwood could support his family was either like to pickpocket and join this gang. So you feel a lot of sympathy for the guy right there, because his sister, I mean, I debunked on like medical conditions earlier, but she seemed to be in pretty good health to me. But I guess it's just a matter of just like they need money. Their shop went out of business because of these thugs. Elwood can't fight these guys off himself. I guess if this is like an Old West type deal, like the police are not like a random thing that you can just call up and just be like, hey, these guys are like wrecking my shop, can you come and fight them? Probably not like very adamant outlaw. I mean, probably not a very adamant law system in this area that they're living in. And I think Elwood tries to like justify why he's working for them, like he has to do this. Meanwhile, Gamma's just pointing out, like he grabs his arm and he points out like these wounds on your hand, like you're beat up, you're bruised here, you're bruised there, your elbow, like they beat you all over. And Elwood just kind of denies it. He's just like, yeah, whatever, you should just leave. It's fine. I got this. I can do it. I can take care of my sister. I don't need your help. And Gamma's pretty much just like, okay, yeah, you're right. I mean, you repaid my debt to, you punched me in the face, but you repaid your debt to me. You fed me. There's really no other reason for me to be here at the moment. So he just kind of walks off. He just says sorry for butting in, and he just leaves. Because really you got to consider, Gamma, if he's a criminal, he's probably used to being a drifter. He's used to just walking from town to town. This is probably not the first sob story he's heard in his life, and there's no more reason for him to butt into Elwood's life, so he's just out. So we cut back over to King Cuero's gang, who looks like he's got like a hairstyle, looks resembling like a devil horns there, and he's got his mob of people, and they all have guns, and they're ready to like go on a raiding. Like he's forming up a posse, and he's ready to raid this freaking place. So the next scene we have them just this guy knows how to make an entrance. I'll give him that much. Like apart from other manga villains, this guy doesn't just like ambush Elwood outside his house, or like sneak into his house and grab him by knife point. No, this guy takes a fucking bazooka and just boom! Right through freaking Elwood's house in the middle of the freaking night. I mean, this shot, for all intents and purposes, could have killed the fucking guy because it's a freaking bazooka. It could have collapsed the house around him, but so he's just like, morning, Edward, get up! And so Elwood turns around and King Cuero's right behind him, and this guy is like big. He's like Elwood, like from the way he's drawn here, it looks like the guy is like 12 foot tall. Like he's guy's huge. He's got the massive, like he's got the man tits and the beer gut and this belt. The belt he's wearing looks like it's made up of beer cans, but I'm pretty sure they're mortars for his bazooka, but from this angle they just look like beer cans. And of course somehow his sister and Elwood both managed to avoid the shot that like leveled half their house. So Elwood just kind of like, it's alright sis, it's okay, we got this, I got this. And meanwhile King Cuero just brings up the fact of what Elwood was doing here, and he kind of like reveals what Elwood's been doing for the gang in front of his sister, and now his sister's all, he the sister knows what's going on, and Kinquero's just like, oops, I guess I wasn't supposed to say that to your sister. And then he holds, and it's like, you've been keeping secrets from too, Elwood. So he pulls up Akutabe Gamma's wanted poster, and he said, look at this, he is a wanted criminal. You were trying to hog him all to yourself, weren't you, little pissant? He's an S/0 criminal, which I guess is like the highest you can get in this series. And he's apparently had armor implanted directly into his right arm, known as the Black Arm Death. And this armor he's like has in his arm right here. I guess that's the reason why he's like the right side of his face was all plated, like it's the armor that runs up, kind of like Automail from Fullmetal Alchemist. But I'm pretty sure this was before Fullmetal Alchemist. But anyway, he's got this armor, and his bounty is 960 million. 960 million. I don't know, like, the currency it's in, I think it's like in nits or something, but I'm pretty sure 960 million of anything is going to be expensive. Anything is going to be, it's going to be a lot of money there. And this is the first time Elwood's been hearing of this. Like, he obviously did not know who Gamma was. He didn't even recognize him. I guess he's just out of the loop, or he's probably paying attention to other stuff. I mean, his life's pretty much fucked up already. He doesn't need to be worrying about some random criminal somewhere. So, just as Elwood is stunned by this revelation, his sister just grabs like a vase and just crashes it over Kinquero's head while he's holding Elwood, and just like, oh no, this little like glass, this fragile glass vase did nothing to encumber this 12-foot, 500-pound man. Did nothing to harm him. Who would have guessed, right? So, Kinquero turns right on her, pulls out his freaking gun, and Elwood just kind of grabs her and shields her, and then just bang. I mean, his sister was protecting Elwood, and just boom, like, she's gone. Like, she gets shot right in the fucking back of the head. She drops, she's done, she collapses right on Elwood. And let me tell you, for a first chapter of a manga series, seeing somebody murdered so bluntly, because, like, I'm used to reading Bleach, Bleach, characters, it's a fantasy setting. Regardless of whether characters don't or do die, that doesn't really matter, because whenever they do die in Bleach, it has to be in some over-the-top manner, because it's a fantasy story, Like a character gets attacked by some super awesome mega attack, and they go down and they disintegrate, like with Ukiura. But, this is a non-fantasy setting, or maybe like has like slight symbols of like sci-fi thrown in there and there with like the black armored hand and everything. But for the most part, it's a realistic Western setting, and we just saw a woman just got gunned down in cold blood, so that's pretty more impactful to see than any kind of death in Bleach, really. Any kind of like over-the-top, magical, based death anyway. So, Elwood is, of course, freaking out there that a death is his sister. So he goes, like, berserk, right? And he pulls out these knives that I guess he was concealing in his pockets or, like, hidden compartments or whatever. And he throws these throwing knives at Kinquero. Kinquero just grabs one of his thugs. And it was actually the guy that was spying on Elwood earlier. And just pulls him right in front of him, and he just like thunk, like right in the dude's face. Like, even that's a little bit more gruesome to see. So Elwood pulls out more knives, and you can tell he's very quick. He's very quick on his feet, and he kind of like is like maneuvering around Kinquero, just like tossing these fucking throwing knives at him. And Kinquero's just holding the guy up like a human shield, and just blocking him. This guy's getting stabbed, and like he's already long dead at this point. Probably his first attack killed him. But then he eventually pins him down, or rather his gang pins Elwood down by like using these guns, and just points him in like all these guns at his head like right away, including Kinquero. He just points this big ass bazooka, which he's like one-arming this thing like right at Elwood's head, and he's just like, thought I told you, Elwood, you have no talent with knives. Which is funny that he would say that. I almost think he's sarcastic, because right there, Elwood with the knives, he seemed pretty good. So far, he was like kind of like the Hanataro of this universe. But, yeah, he seemed pretty badass right there. So I'm hoping he does that again with the throwing knives, because the guy seemed to have some skill with that. But at any rate, Kinquero he's holding the bazooka right at his face. And, he's telling him, like, basically, if you just tell us that you were trying to go behind our backs, if you were just trying to get the reward for yourself, I'm just going to kill you right here, no problem, no big deal. But if you do not tell us, if you continue to lie, then we're basically just going to work you to death. We're going to beat you, we're going to make you wish you were dead. So, pretty clever right there. I mean, this guy is obviously a little bit, short upstairs, but he has his knowledge when it comes to, like, how to threaten people. It's just like, no, you don't understand. You're not walking out of this either way. But if you just admit that you were trying to, you were lying to us, that you didn't know who he was, we'll at least give you the mercy of just a quick death. Otherwise, we're just going to beat the crap out of you. So Elwood, he has, like, this is probably like the high point of his character for this chapter, for this opening chapter. He just tells tells him, no, I'm not going to tell you either way because you're not even a human. How could you understand? You're just a pig. And, of course, this pisses King Cuero off right off. So he's about to deliver, like, the finishing blow just out of spite when all of a sudden this foot just comes out of nowhere and just boom! Right in the side of King Cuero's face. This guy gets sent flying, like, out into the desert somewhere, you know, right through the house. And, of course, you know, big shocker, Gamma's back. I'm sure you all thought he was just going to leave and never come back, right? I mean, his face on the chapter, like his face taking up the foreground in the chapter title was not enough of a foreshadowing hint that he was going to come back, right? Well, anyway, so Gamma shows back up, and he holds up King Cuero's wanted poster, and he says, King Cuero, Mujita King Cuero, is a D1 class criminal with 8,000 of a NIT reward. I think it's pronounced NIT, I don't know. But anyway, obviously, this guy is a much lower criminal than you know, Gamma is. Gamma being S class 0. I would assume it's just like you know, S, A, B, C, D, and I don't know what numbers go up to. Maybe it's like an A1, A2, A3. I don't really know how long the numbers go up to there. But as for the lettering system, I can pretty much assume that. But anyway, he holds this up, and you know, so King Cuero gets back up, right, and he's just like, okay. He looks over at Gamma, and Gamma pulls out. I guess it was in the duffel bag he was carrying earlier. Maybe it like collapsed or something. He pulls out this awesome freaking Buster Sword, of course, because it's a Kubo manga, right? And some people might be saying that. Some people might be bringing that up right now, like, oh my god, Kubo has a thing for big swords, doesn't he? Like, is he trying to say something, like compensating for something? All of his main characters have big swords, because of course we have Ichigo with his big ass Zanpakuto. I don't want to say, you know, it's funny, you can actually write like a whole essay on characters in video games and anime that try to have like the big ass Buster Swords, like in Final Fantasy, and like that. Like that's their primary weapon. I mean, you could write a whole like what you think that could like resemble, like not just beyond like the compensation thing, but just the typical male patriarchal ideal that no matter what, how awesome a thing is, if it's bigger, it's always better. Like you'll see a guy, you know, driving down the street in a Ford pickup. It's a huge ass truck. It's like twice the size of your car, and then he'll be like, yeah, that's pretty good, but it could be better. And then he puts like these monster truck tires on it, and like there's like 8 freaking exhaust pipes in the back, like all belching like a stream of smoke, and he's like rushing down the freaking highway, like taking up 2 lanes of traffic, and he's just like, oh yeah, I'm a real man now. You could take the same thing into like the Buster Swords. But really, I just think this was like a time thing, because think about it. Like at the time this was going on, 1999, you know, Final Fantasy VIII was the newer game out, and Final Fantasy VII kind of introduced the whole Buster Sword concept, because every time you think of Final Fantasy, you think of like a main character, awesome outfit, wearing like using a giant sword. Like we had Cloud with the Buster Sword, we had Squall with the Gunblade, we have Titus with his sword. I never played 9. I don't know who the hell uses whatever in 9. But yeah, that was just the times, what's going on. Big swords were the fad. They still kind of are, but they were more so back in the late 90s. A lot of characters had the big-ass sword. But Gamma's sword's a little bit differently, because it has an interesting little feature here that King Cuero finds out the hard way. And so what happens was that, of course, he looks at like this situation, like he's got a bazooka, and he's got like his entire posse of people, all with like pistols and rifles and automatic rifles, and they're looking at this one guy that just has a sword, and he notes like, oh yeah, his sword even has like decorative little things on the edges. Like there's no way you can cut somebody with that. It's not even a real sword. So King Cuero's just like, dude, I got you got one sword, you're way the fuck over there, and I got this, you know, I'm just gonna gun you down like that. And that's what he does. So his entire gang just unloads shots on this guy, shot after shot, so much so that there was a telephone pole right behind Gamma. The telephone pole gets shredded. Like, it gets shredded to the point where it actually falls down with so much bullets just spraying this guy. So the smoke clears, and of course Gamma's standing there, and he's just like, yeah, can I attack yet? Whatever. He's all like completely nonchalant about the whole ordeal. And King Cuero is thinking, like, why do you think, like, why do you think I was, like, standing here with an armored right arm? I had armor inserted in my right arm so I can catch bullets with my bare hand. That was the whole reason I had it installed. So that's the reason we see this awesome scene of him just, like, dropping all the bullets that were about to hit him. And I have to bring up here, like, just having an armored right arm alone would obviously not be enough to block like all these bullets whizzing at you. I mean, the dude's reflexes alone have to be off the chart. Like, I don't know if they've been augmented too. I don't know the whole story behind this guy, of course, just in this first chapter. You know, that's another point too. I would like to know the origin of that sword, like where he got it from. But, you know, the guy's reflexes alone have to be great, because, like, imagine, like, somebody gives you, like, the most indestructible, like Captain America's shield, like, Captain America's vibranium shield, you know, you can't get, like, nothing can get through this, like, Thor's, you know, freaking, you know, hammer couldn't even dent this freaking thing, so somebody gives you Captain America's shield, they're like, okay, you take that shield, me and, like, 10 guys are gonna stand down here with AK-47 automatic rifles, and we're just gonna unload, like, hundreds upon thousands of bullets at your general direction for maybe 30, 40 seconds or so. You know, the guy would be like, no. I'm like, I don't think I can do it. It's like, it's cool. You got an indestructible shield. You know, you'd still have to have the reflexes to block them all. So anyway, he catches the bullets. He drops them. And King Cuero's next idea is like, okay, well, that didn't work. Takes out the bazooka and just, boom, takes that shot. Gamma, hand, boom. Just, you gotta figure, like, this thing is like a, you know, like a 40-pound freaking tank mortar that's like a foot long, and then Gamma just, he doesn't even move. The dude doesn't even like scritch back at all. The dude just pong, you know. Oh, Gamma at this point finally reveals his sword, and it turns out it's not a typical sword here. This sword is actually a chainsaw sword. I want you guys just to soak that in for a second. Chainsaw sword. As in, the guard is a motor, he rips the freaking cord, vroom, 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 and, like, you know, it starts spinning at God knows how many RPMs, and he just, whoosh, cuts down King Cuero. That dude is shredded, that dude is gone, that dude is last Sunday's trash. Alright, he's not getting back up after that condition. So, that just makes me even wonder where he got it more. Like, where do you get a chainsaw sword? Is it a custom order? Do you make it? Did someone give it to him? Is it like Cloud's Buster sword? Like his best friend had it and gave it to him or something? Elwood is just looking on in awe of this guy. He's just like, this guy just stopped all these bullets. He just blocked. He just gave the hand to a freaking tank mortar, and Elwood's just looking like, this guy is fighting like this on a freaking continent filled with guns, because of course all the characters that we've seen up to this point, except for Gamma, have used guns as their primary weapon here. It's just crazy, and that's, though I will give it one thing though, like when you look at other like when you look at Final Fantasy, for instance, you know, characters with the big Buster swords, you always have to wonder, like, how the hell can they you know, their upper body strength has to be that of gods to take this sword and just like wish it with one hand. At least with Gamma it makes sense, because he's got like the armored right arm, which is apparently, I guess, augments his strength to an insane degree. I don't know if it's like just regular armor over his regular arm, or if it's like automail, like his actual arm is like amputated and he replaced it like Guts from Berserk with the arm cannon. I don't know how that works. I would assume it's just automail, because even with armor that thick, you'd think his arm, like, it was still concussive, his arm. But with the arm like that, with the armor, you think, like, even with the chainsaw, because you think this thing's going to vibrate like crazy. I mean, you got an engine there. It's going to be, like, shaking your arm, and it's going to be insanely heavy just to wield with the motor and everything. You got at least your right arm to do it. You know, you also got to bring up, like, I'm curious, like, how, like, because there's mechanical parts, like, what happens if it gets busted? You know, what happens if the parts get jammed or dislodged in a fight? You know, like, can he fix it? You know, does he have a special guy to go and fix it? But yeah, so anyway, he finishes off King Cuero pretty quickly, and the last scene of the chapter, we have Elwood, and he's standing over the grave of his sister. And, you know, and he's, like, all depressed because, of course, she's dead. And it finally hits him. He stands up and he's just like, hey, Gamma, you're looking for the zombie powder, right? And Elwood's just like, yeah, I'm looking for... I mean, Gamma's just like, yeah, I'm looking for the zombie powder. He's like, I want you to take me with you so I can revive my sister. And, you know, so Gamma just basically says, like, you know, like, well, what if my answer is no? And Elwood's just like, well, if your answer is no, then I'm just going to follow you anyway. And, okay, and Gamma's like, oh, okay, well... Let me rephrase that. What if my answer is no, and if you follow me, I will kill you? And Elwood's response, just without missing him very adamantly, he's just like, then I'll defeat you, and I'll take that Ring of the Dead from you, and I'll find the powder myself. And I guess Gamma just kind of, like, that was a test. Like, he just wanted to see the guts that this kid had, or the drive that he had, or what he was doing here was real. He didn't want to just piggyback with Gamma and just get the powder just because Gamma is so strong. You know, even if Gamma would have rejected him, he still would have gone after it anyway. So I guess Gamma figures, well, better he come with me and try to find it than go and try to find it on his own and get killed. So that's the end of the chapter. You know, Elwood takes off his beanie cap, places it on his sister's grave, and, you know, says, wait for me, sis. I'm going to find you. I'm going to find the zombie powder. I'm going to revive you, and everything's all going to be happy. You know, family matters, you know. Oh, and my hair I got to throw the beanie cap back on because my hair is all messed up now. So anyway, that was the first chapter. That was the first 55-page chapter. That was 40 minutes already. My God. Review of zombie powder. So I'm going to make this really quick just because, you know, this video has been insanely long already. But, you know, this series is, of course, something that I've really been interested in for a long time. I hope you guys will go check it out, of course. It's really easy to find on the internet. Like I said, I'm going to get the actual Tanaboken, hopefully by the next chapter so I can talk about it then. And, you know, not really much to talk about. You know, it's the very beginning of the series. I have really no idea where it's going to go from here, but I really like Elwood's character. I like Gamma's character. It seems a little bit more realistic to me, if that makes sense, with, like, the whole gun and everything, because at least it makes sense for him having the armor and everything. But of course, these characters' backstories, you know, Gamma's backstories, of course, not even like scratch the surface on who this dude is. You know, why is he such a wanted criminal? You know, why does he want to find the zombie powder? You know, what his backstory is just in general. We're going to find all that later. But anyway, yeah, so this has been a 40-minute video. I highly apologize for any kind of, you know, long-winded discussion this might have been, but I had to start off somewhere. So I hope you'll continue to watch these videos. I hope you'll check out Jim's Nerdation below. This is going to be an epic journey, I'm sure, for me. One chapter down, 26 to go. So hope you guys check me out next time. Tekking101, signing out.